Good morning. Well, it's time to stake these tomatoes up, and I'm going to tell you about a little something I did to solve a problem. All right, let's go. Okay, well, I put these canes in the buckets when I planted the tomatoes so I wouldn't disturb the roots later on. And now I'm looking at them, and I thought at the time, didn't feel like it had enough support. But I thought, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see what happens because, we're going to have, the soil's going to settle. You're going to water it a few times, the soil's going to settle. It's going to feel different in a couple of days. Well, it did, but not different enough. So what I did to fix it is I took a little hole saw, about an inch, quarter inch and a half. You can buy them anywhere, Walmart, local hardware store, doesn't matter. I think I spent like $7 something on one. Put it in my drill, and I just tipped the bucket over, got kind of where it looked like maybe the end of that stake was sitting, and buzzed a hole in the bottom. Placed my bucket where I wanted it, and then I just shoved that cane down into the soil a few inches. Now, right now, we're getting a lot of rain, the soil's soft, this was easy to do. You might have to work a little harder than I had to. But that gives it plenty of stability because now it's down in the ground a few inches. That end's not going to move. Plus, then it's going through the hole in that bucket, which is not a whole lot bigger than the cane is. And the bucket's got some weight to it, so that's going to keep it from going very far. So I think now we got enough support, we're going to be fine. Now I'm going to show you how I stake a tomato. Now first of all, I'm going to show you this is an S hook that I just took a regular old pair of pliers. I didn't bring them with me either, but just a regular pair of pliers and an old coat hanger. An old clothes hanger like you get at the bargain store when you buy a shirt. And made a little S hook. Made a couple of them, one for each tomato plant. And I hook it into the top of the cane. Now, got to understand, like bamboo, cane's hollow. However, it's solid. There's a bulkhead everywhere one of these segments is. So I just made sure when I cut these to size that I was cutting it in between the segments and there was some hollow that I could hook that thing into. And you can do this a bunch of ways. If you're not using cane but you're using something else, there's bound to be a way you can hang something at the top of it to hook this string onto. Or, barring that, maybe a nail in the end of it that you can hook your string onto. Doesn't have to be complicated. Use what you got. All right, now what I did is I've made a piece of string here that's about twice the length from the cane to the ground, and then I just put a little loop in the end. Real simple. Bet your kids could do that for you. And just hook that on there. Now, I'll take the end of this string, and I'll come down here, and I'm not tying it around the plant. I'm tying it around the cane. Okay? And I want to tie it where it's not going to move. Where it's got a hold of the cane good. All right, now, this extra string is just going to hang down. Now, keep in mind, I left some slack. Because what I'm going to do is come down here, get a hold of my plant, and I'm just going to wrap it around the plant. Okay? The plant's not going to be bowled upright, but it's going to keep it from flopping over. And as it grows up, I'm going to continue to do that, to give it a loop around the plant once in a while. Okay? That's the beginning steps in this. Now, like I say, there's more ways you can do it. If you're doing it on a patio or something, Maybe there's a place up above I can hang a plant hook for a hanging basket. I can hook a loop of string on that. And I don't need a stake at all now. So there's a lot of ways to do this. But the point and the reason I stake tomatoes this way is I like a single stem tomato. Tomatoes are basically a vine, okay? But they'll branch out if you let them. Wherever there's a leaf branch and your main stem, in between, you'll get a little bit of a sucker growth come out. Now that sucker growth becomes a whole, basically another tomato plant with more leaf stalks and more blooms and more suckers of its own. I don't want to do that, okay? I don't want to do that. I want to keep it where I'm going to have nice sized tomatoes. So I'm going to stay to a single stem. I'm not going to get as many, but I'm not canning tomatoes. But I'm going to continue through the summer to get nice big tomatoes. Instead of most people, as if you throw a cage on them and just ignore them, and that's what you want to do it. But what happens is, as you go down through the summer, that tomato plant grows out the top. It's got 15 suckers on it. Now all of a sudden it's got a half a dozen sets of blooms at once that tomato plant is trying to fill up those tomatoes. But you only got one stem coming out of the ground to pull up moisture. So what happens is, as the summer progresses, you get more and more tomatoes, but they get smaller and smaller. You know, you might start out the first cluster being nice big old tomatoes, but then towards the end of the summer, you're getting them more like that. That's why I prune my tomatoes, okay? You're gonna get a lot of vertical growth, and you're gonna continue to get good tomatoes. Now, real quick, it's gonna get to the top of this stake. I'll guarantee you in a month, it will be at the top of the stake. But that's okay, because what I can do is then I can take this extra string and I can make another loop, and I'm gonna unhook that one and hook this one and lower it down and continue to work on it, just to rope it in, okay? So that's how I stake a tomato, and that's why. That tomato plant can curl around on the ground. The stem, it won't hurt anything. It'll continue, in fact, it'll probably root where it's touching the ground, you know, and help you out. But that keeps you, always have your tomatoes up here where I can take care of them easy, and I can keep pruning the plant. I don't have to go get a step ladder to do it, or I don't have a cage that's flopping over and they're just a tangled mess and I can't get into them. And another benefit is with a single stem tomato is the foliage is reasonably thin. It's not huge and bushy. So after a rain, it'll dry quicker. You run less chance of getting blight. All right, well, let me show you a couple things. Now, as you can see, the green beans are up. Now, I can't put the 7 dust on them right now because it's sprinkling off and on all day today. As soon as I get a dry day, I got to get them sprinkled, because the rain will kind of keep the bugs off of them too. But as soon as it quits, boy, you're going to get the snails, you're going to get, all kinds of chewing insects. And I've known them to decimate a half a row of green beans. It just wouldn't be nothing there. They cut off everything but a little dab of stem, and the poor thing can't do anything. So I don't want to do that. I don't have to. I'm planting late enough already. I don't really want to have to do it again. All right. Now what I got here, believe it or not, these are the tops that I cut off these stakes, and I've got 4 of them here. I actually cut down 5 canes because I gave 3 to my daughter and my stepdaughter. And what I'm just going to do is I'm going to poke them in the ground. Just poke them in there, and I'm going to allow them kind of touch at the top, touch each other. Eventually I might tie them together up there. But that way, all you got to do with beans is show them a stake, and they're curling around it all on their own, So that's where I'm going with this. All right, one more. Only had 4 beans come up. I planted 5, but that's okay. And I actually have 2 or 3, 4 marigolds popping up. They're small, but they're there. And a few of the lettuce seeds are popping up. The only thing that hasn't showed up yet is the squash. And, you know, that's life. We'll just get along one way or the other. All right, that's what's going on today. I wanted to share it with you. I wanted you to see that the seeds we planted are starting to come up. And I wanted to tell you how I braced up these stakes so that they're tough enough now to hold a tomato plant. Okay, that's basically the whole game. I'll show you too my roll of string. Now this is what I like to use. And what this is a bale of string like you'd put in a round hay baler. It's kind of expensive, but one roll of it will last you the rest of your life. So, you know, it's worth paying $20 or so. I don't remember what it was now, but that's what this is. And it's thick enough that it doesn't cut into your plant. And like I say, one roll of that and it's going to last you the rest of your life tying things up in the garden. If you're like me and I've got these canes, so from time to time I'll make all kinds of little elaborate bits of trellising for whatever it is I'm growing. Well, that's what I can loop it together with and tie it together with. You'll find other uses for it, I'm sure. But anyway, that's what I use. Do what you want, you're going to anyhow. All right, well, that's what's going on today. I will kind of hold up my lettuce bucket so maybe you can see the little green spots in there. I don't know if you can or not. They're pretty small, they're little tiny. And I'd hold up the marigold bucket, but they're even smaller. So that's about that now. About next time, I'm going to be pruning. And I'm going to release it next week, but I may have to, you know, they're kind of in pruning shape right now, so I may have to go ahead and do it and then just hold that video for a few days. But that's okay too. All right, you all have a quality day.